to do the content-wise. So we first do a quick recap about what money is, what it's used for. That will be very shortly done. And then we will dive into how is money created and how does the monetary system works. How do you move it from A to B? And then eventually we will catch up, okay, how is it going to be influenced by cryptocurrency? Is it going to be influenced by cryptocurrency? Or is it going to be influenced by the more centralized versions like Libra and stuff like that? And I will take you on a route regarding the tokens and token incentives, which is a huge amount of information I'm going to send towards you. That's why this camera is rolling. If you zoned out for a moment, please raise your hand and then we could do a quick break. That's option 1. Option 2 is you can always rewatch it later on, right? We even have an additional option for today. We can eventually make the lesson a bit longer if liked. Of course, I can imagine that you're also a bit fatigued because you already did so much this week. Nothing, right? I assume, just recovering. Yeah, you did something? Yeah, work. Work, yeah, okay. Yeah. Who all have a side job here? Just to, okay, wow, cool. What are we doing? Who's working in a restaurant? Or Horeca, something, yeah? The supermarkets? Yeah, check. Oh, by the way, what we can also do is the LinkedIn session, but that will be after class, like it's optional, okay? So if you want to receive the tips, because a lot of you do need the tips. Yeah, it's well, without any, it's real shitty what I saw sometimes. Yeah, so definitely some improvement, space for improvement there. That doesn't work. Let me do it like this. Okay, so grades portfolio. The intent was to deliver the grades today, but unfortunately Dennis got out. I spoke with him. He said, we'll probably be fine tomorrow or Saturday, so we will give you the grades. If you have a sufficient, if you receive the message from him, you pass the bar, then you will receive your grade. If you receive the message you need to adjust a thing or two, then you will need to contact him or adjust it out of the dark, but it's best to contact him. So, any questions regarding the grades of the portfolio? Who has an insufficient and hasn't contacted Dennis yet? If you don't dare standing out yet, please think, hey, that might be me, contact Dennis.
How do you know you have an insufficient?
Did you mail it, your portfolio? And if you have an insufficient, if you needed to adjust something, you got a mail by Dennis. If you submitted it before the deadline, of course. If you submitted it after the deadline, then it's a one-on-one with Dennis. Just ask him in the Slack or in WhatsApp or whatever.
Because we have 10 days to adjust it.
Oh yeah, and that's already, yeah, well, to be honest, that's the deadline he gave. I still receive sometimes portfolios from the previous minor, so there is no official deadline, but to keep this academic process going, he just determined a random deadline 2 weeks in notice. But if you submit it later on, perfectly fine by me, but I highly recommend to submit it as soon as possible, because almost everybody who delays never submits anything. It's like the Dutch saying, from uitstel comes afstel. I don't know what it even, from uitstel komt afstel, toch? Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. If you don't do it, if you keep postponing it, you won't submit it in the end. So, please put in the pain, put in the effort, finish your portfolio, submit it as soon as possible. If it's not good, one-on-one with Dennis, he will point you out which directions could be surplused or could be aangevuld worden. I'm also not in my A game today, a bit off. But eventually, if you have any questions, just ask them, right? Just don't be assertive. I mean, field assignment. I have your grades. Yeah, hey, I have your grades, but I won't give them to you. I am waiting for all the respondents of your field assignment givers. Out of the 22 assignment providers, 5 reacted so far. I will give them a few more days. Yours responded. You have a very good grade, by the way, so relieved on that. I am tackling it a bit lower than he was. He was aiming 9+ somewhere. I thought, it's okay, but that good, it's But he was really content. Also, Yes Delft. Are Yes Delft members here? No, well, Neil said, yeah, they got a 10. They did everything what they needed to do. Okay, well, we won't be passing out 10s. That they didn't solve, well, never mind. But they also scored great. Provincie Zuid-Holland commented back. So you can come up to me later on for your grade. No, well, never mind. What I'm going to do next is I will give them a few more days. Then I will contact them once more again. I will either call them or send them a message. Depends on my relationship with the provider. And then before next class, you will have your field assignment back up and running. Most importantly, almost all of you, with the exemption of 2 or 3 groups and some individuals, passed the bar, right? In my honest opinion, the level of assignments keep on rising as well. If I compare these assignments with the previous minors, it's getting better and better. But some of the groups were really, really lousy, in all honesty. So those students received a mail from me. Please make an appointment. If you also recognize your student number here, you were not on the assignment that was submitted by your group. So that's either because you're not here anymore, because you already dropped out. I need to discuss this with Dennis, but I'm not going to harass him today. So you might not submit your portfolio as well. So that most likely is a reason why you're not here. But otherwise, if you see your student number, let me know. We will make an appointment. Mail me or walk by me after the class, because your group didn't note you down on the assignment. So there must be some. Yeah. Okay, the groups. Here we go. Pay attention. This is an important part of your minor. This is about the field assignment. So the groups are as following. I'm going to describe each project now. As you may have noticed, some assignments were already finished. Some assignments we finished ourselves because we didn't thought there was enough blockchain in it. And this minor, period B, is about specialization. So we're going to do a deep dive here. In your case, we're going to look at the more economical and business approach to towards blockchain. I will do the main economical parts. Martijn Bolt will do the business approach. So he will take you from how are you going to implement blockchain as a business specialist, how are you going to take your customer from in this transgression period, stuff like that. Okay? So the groups will be as follows. ATU1, Robert John, where were you? Yeah. You're finished. Or do you want to continue and... no, crystal clear. So, Accra Technical University number 2 is the plastic project, which is, in all honesty, booked. It's full. But if a lot of people want to work on the Ghana plastic project, I can create a second team, and then you will have competition. Okay? So now you're not working with all 8 of them together, but you're going to work alongside each other. And, well, not compete, of course, you're allowed to work together, but separate projects. The third one, Jari, where are you? There you are. That was the, sorry?
Mobile payment.
Oh, the mobile payment, Cent, that was the one. Awesome name. So that's about the mobile payment. How are you going to implement a mobile payment system in Ghana in this case? Yeah, with a focus on one country while we're discussing a global technology, but I will get to that later on. The third group is going to make a Bitcoin and an Ethereum ATM here at the Hague University in the Innovation Playground. Not only do you need to build it, well, it's quite easy for a Bitcoin ATM because you can just order it and it will be free of charge and then they will implement it. So we thought, hell, why not build a sort of an Ethereum ATM? It will most likely not spew out money because then you need to stock it with money, which makes it quite a target, of course. And it might be something, the current flow where we're hesitating about is get a refrigerator or something, put a lock on it, like a socket. It's a lock that you can unlock with your public key and then unlock it with either Ether or with a Titan token or something like that, just for the experimental sake. which is of course quite a technical assignment. The other assignment, which is an assignment where you're going to do a research per token. We will give you several topics. For example, how is the token economics fixed? How is the code written if you're an engineer? Or how are they combining, incentivizing the ecosystem, etc. And some quantitative analysis as well, like hard numbers. We are going to do this for the top 100 cryptocurrencies. And of course, it depends on with how many team members you are. But we will basically, with all due respect, we're just filling a database. That's all. It's interesting because you will learn a lot, but it's not so interesting because you're not out in the field. So figure that one out for yourself. And it's also, keep in mind, we will be guiding you and we will be like hawks. So we will dive into your neck if we think, hey, you need to be awake there. Because we will do periodically reviews. And if you screw up the first session, we will get you out of it and then discuss it on one-on-one. And then either the second version need to be better or it's over and out. That's the luxury of being a teacher, of course. Because we are in common a little bit less friendly than your assignment providers. Okay? Yes?
But if I understand correctly, you are the assignment giver.
Yeah. We took some assignments this time on us because it was too last minute to get a high quality blockchain assignment. Because we did think they were very interesting, the first ones, but the quality is just too basic. There are random questions, and now we picked out assignments where we think of, okay, this has a strong IT component, like create your Ethereum, you need to write the code, you need to write the hardware stuff, you need to create the hardware. And fundamental analysis is a lot about economics. So how do you evaluate stuff like that. The Bonacci is already known. Bonacci Team B, Virin and Rahim. Rahim is quitting? Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. And Virin I haven't seen as well. Yeah, this was one of the groups that didn't pass the bar. So I wanted to speak with them personally. Yeah, it wasn't well. In multiple aspects it needed improvement, but that's possible. Hey. Other Bonacci Finance group was quite well. Municipality of The Hague, you already know, the self-sovereign identity, yes?
Could you briefly describe the Bonacci thing?
I'm sorry,
The Bonacci project?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Bonacci is a continuation of the presentation that you saw last Friday, where they are exchanging or we're creating an exchange platform. So, in all honesty, what they're going to do is they're going to replace big banks with Bonacci. And then Bonacci eventually does say that he has the intent to get more and more decentralized. But currently they are building already, and it can't be built on an open public blockchain because that doesn't scale at the moment.
The deal block, right?
The deal block, yeah, that's how they call it, yeah. Where you match orders and requests and then you stripe it away against each other. But this time without a bank. So it's faster, it's cheaper, but yeah, it's still of course centralized. But it's an improvement though. And it gives you a lot, it's an interesting assignment with a lot of opportunity to learn, but it's a very, it's a team that's on a run. So you're jumping on a running train, which is quite difficult. And I can imagine that they don't want any new people on board. But then you have to power pitch yourself like, hey, I'm very good at this, or I will give you coffee or so, I don't know what your value will be. Municipality The Hague, self-sovereign identity. Self-sustainable mining rig is the entire team of YesDelf. Is going to do it over, but this time it needs to be self-sustainable on the front end and on the back end. We're going to create a, we wanted to connect the mining rig with a decentralized exchange, so that later on students from the trading miner can use the money that we generate from the mining rig to trade. All automatically, of course. Then we've got an entire row of applying for a job or for, I don't know how we call it, we had no idea where to put you. But remember this, a lot of things are possible. So you were either one or you were all alone left in a group, like Robert Jan currently is. Just apply somewhere or create a team with other people that are left alone, and then do a second team on one of the tracks. Of course, I can imagine that Bonacci Finance is hard to copy as well as Municipality The Hague. They're already on a run there, so you're way behind there. Streaming money is all about creating an extra additional layer. In this case, we're talking about interledger, about coin, stuff like that. So it's the Internet of Value, where you, for example, as a user, we're going to experiment that on coils. So as a user, if you watched 1,000 movies, you will pay 1,000 Satoshis. So a Satoshi per clip or something like that. It's already technically possible, but we need to make a selection. That's basically it. Dennis, his thesis is also about this, so he already has a lot of sources and stuff like that. So he will be, and I of course will be your guide. That's quite important, by the way. Of all the new assignments, I will be your assignment provider. I will do weekly meetings, and I will weekly check your progress. So if your progress isn't according to the plan, which we will formulate in the very first week, I will offer you the chance to do this today or later on next Wednesday. But yeah, I want to be more involved in these projects. And we're going to, no, that's not relevant for you. We're going to do this differently than other minors as well. Because it's too hard for us to just hand you over to the assignment providers and then just wait and see. We need to communicate more. So we're going to test this first by doing it ourselves, and then we're going to apply it with other assignment providers. Last one, most interesting one, most difficult one, and most important one. Yeah. So what we did here is we gathered the highest scoring students and put them on the most difficult task, how to not only create an overview of all the actors that are in the system and all their incentives, but also build towards that. So a Titan token is not enough to do something like that. There actually needs to be, how are you going to align individual interests of all these actors with the common individual interest that might be applicable. This is an interesting assignment, this is a tough assignment, but this is also a very good network assignment because we will kick you out in the field there because you need to talk with several other actors as well. So in this case, Floris, Jan, Hassan, Marloes, Daniela, where are you? Anna, Charlotte, Matthijs. So we mix it up and good luck. No, this is, in my honesty, I think this is a very interesting one. And I will guarantee you, you won't succeed within 10 weeks. Not doable. Because it's an ecosystem, it's too difficult. But we'll see how far we go. And then Anna will pick up later on and write a thesis about it. She doesn't know it yet. But that's, you will have a sort of a leadership role because you're one of the final persons that is going to use this for your beroepsproduct. Okay. Yeah, check. Sure. Yeah, doable, seriously. And we will also be, this is one I find personally very interesting as well. This is one where my involvement will be, where I will be the most involved as well as Gerard. Because we're already doing this and we're already building this. So we want to build it together with students, for students. So if you've heard anything, if you want to have a different team or whatever, just mail me, Slack me, or walk by me later on, and then we will arrange something. So if I don't hear anything, I'm assuming it's just A-okay. So I've discussed this already last week. This week is about money. Next week is about innovation. I'm going to lay out innovation. And once more, I'm going to do the general overview, and Martijn will apply it on business. So I'm going to explain, for example, what is innovation, how does it work, how do you encounter it, how do you formulate it, and Martijn will on the Friday then, okay, very cool that you now know what it is, apply it on a business. And of course, Martijn will also offer a afternoon session where he's going to discuss once more your field assignments. And the same goes for me and Dennis. And Ricardo doesn't know it. We will put the fundamental analysis group towards him because he's our trading guy. Check. Interoperability is one for the payment layer. ZK Snarks, other specialties. That's a week where you will shine. I will explain later. Well, I won't explain. This is a week where you will be here explaining stuff. So looking forward to that one as well. I will do a general introduction because there are just too many specialties. The DeFi apps, of course, is an interesting one. And the regulation I made optional in the last week. Because I do want to offer you all the regulation content. I will explain this in a 3 or 4 hour session or so. But of course, it's way too big for just one minor class. So I'm going to try out 2 things. First of all, I'm trying to get it arranged that the legal department puts in their network. There we can have that, so that we can have a 2 or 3 day power session. But they already are quite pushing away. We don't have time. Yeah, but you said you would do it. So I don't think, in all honesty, that that's going to work. So the second option I have is that I can give you all the content that I have if you want to do a deep dive, and otherwise you will just be stuck with the 3 hour explanation, if that's sufficient for you. But it's very important that if you go out there and if you're talking about economics and businesses, that you realize that there is also a legal component that needs to be taken care of. So this is just an introduction of this regulation, what current regulation is out there and how does it work, what exactly is regulation, how can you regulate stuff, and how does it apply on digital currencies and businesses. And then eventually, if you want to learn more about it, we have many, I think 900 slides or so, so you can do a deep dive on your own as well. And then eventually, the 4th and 5th of February is Odyssey Connected. Unfortunately for you, I can't invite you all. So just for your imagination or for your image, the Odyssey Connected is an event in preparation of the hackathon. I would love to send out a team towards the hackathon in April. We even have a spot. Normally you need to apply for a hackathon spot, etc. And it's quite a tough process. But I'm going to approach each and one of you. I already asked Matthijs slightly half away. So I planted the seed in his head. What I will ask several others as well. I want to create a team for April version. That could be something like, for example, to replace a part of a portfolio or something like that's additional extracurricular stuff, which we might change in ECTs, stuff like that. So if you're interested in participating in a hackathon, and remember, you don't always need to hack for a hackathon. Sometimes you also need to present something or communicate or build a business case around it. Keep that in mind. You don't always need to know how to write code. So most often in a team, there are 3 or 4 people who code, and then 2 or 3 people that do the other stuff, like present it or get the coffee once more, or So keep that in mind. If you think that's interesting, other than doing 1 or 2 portfolio assignments, for example, that might be an option. But Odyssey Connected is a preparation. There will be Bitcoin developers, Bitcoin Core developers, Ethereum developers. People are actually building the most awesome stuff. That will give a presentation on the 5th. On the 4th are all the big companies. You saw some already in the Ridderzaal. They will do something similar, only a bit longer, and then you can visit those parties. Very interesting if you're looking for an internship or something like that. So if you want to do an internship, KLM is there, Vattenfall, parties like that, right? The big ones. So if you really want to join, if you already helped, you're on the front row. That's well, I can't promise that you're on the front row, but you will be in, of course. If you really want to join, just let me know, and then I can check. I will put you on a list, and then we will see how many students we can place. Because normally 2,600 people apply, and there are only spots for 500 or 600 people. Yeah, just to give you a picture of how how interesting that event is. So, portfolio for period B. If you go to coils.online/blockchain, there we go. We uploaded the first 3 weeks of assignments. You already know them by heart or no phone? If you go to coils.online/blockchain miner portfolio, not the underscore, middle score. How do you call this thing? No, this is not a dash, right? Is it a dash? Oh, slash and dash. Aha, thanks. Blockchain dash miner dash portfolio. There you will see the upcoming assignments. What you will see is that each week is a bit differently. The assignments are less, but they are tougher. We currently have them for week 1, 2, and 3. We have until week 6. So week 7 you have no assignment. So if we just, let me just go through them. It's, I think week 1 is the easiest one, by the way. So the deadline for the first week is next week's Sunday. So not this Sunday, but next week. So you have a week and a half. So every time we're a week behind with the portfolio. So that gives you time to, submit your portfolio. Blockchain, what was it again? Portfolio, miner, portfolio or something like that. Yeah, okay, cool. So week 1. There, okay, cool. Nicely done, Ricardo. How long did you do it? It took you an hour or so? Okay, so the first one is general questions, just for the common sake. This is an explanation which is doable.
Is that because it says like present in your own words, so is this make a video?
Yeah, this was make a video, yeah. That should be in the title. Good question. Ricardo, can you note that down? 1.2 is make a video. Yeah, good question. So explain in detail how the current monetary system works, minimum of 5 minutes, maximum of 15. Not only how it transformed, but also explain how the current system works. Just basically tell what I will tell you today. Not so hard, but the topic isn't that hard. The monetary system isn't all that hard, as long as you know your way around it. So week 2 is an interesting one. The assignment is 2.1. It's you have your own ID. You must have, most likely you will have an ID where you can apply decentralization upon, right? Do you have a DApp in your mind? Oh, I could build something like this, or I could build something like that. No? Okay. Well, no, most likely I heard myself say it, but I don't think you already thought about it. But the goal of this assignment is think about your own DApp and write it out. Just write down why you think this DApp that you have in the top of your mind will be awesome. Write down the business opportunity, target market. This is the common line, like the business model, what's going to be the market strategy. We already have a version for you that's written out. So then you can see that you can use as an example. Okay, so how am I going to discuss the business model? For example, this is done with the business model canvas. But remember, you're free in format. If you have a better format, which I can imagine by now, because it's a bit outdated, use that format. Surprise us in your creativity regarding the innovative idea, but also in these components. You can also add the components, perfectly fine as well, but just note these down. This is a tough one, by the way. It's about 10 pages, but I think that's the only Oh no, sorry. Yeah, we did get creative. Yeah. Yeah, this is just about the content of the class. This is basically, instead of a test, instead of a written exam, just explain, and then the topics we discussed in class. So, explain the main dimensions of innovation, explain the threat of existing businesses, disruptive technologies, blah, 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 stuff like that. Just the learning goals. I just copy-paste the learning goals there. And then I think this one is optional. We will make it optional. 2.3, watch the videos, fill in the... yeah. Ricardo, can you mention that 2.3, optional one? Because this one is tough, and this one is doable, but this one takes time. This one seems easy, but why is it tough? Because we will grade it tough. So a half-written ID won't pass the bar. It's not an introduction to blockchain technology anymore, it's the deep dive. So show some progress here. And this will take time. And that time you have, because we have, well, basically you have 40 hours per week to study. So I can imagine there's some time left. Optional. Also, by the way, if you see the additional option, for example, if you want to learn more about, in this case, innovation, just walk up to me, request to me, and I will give you the stuff you need. For example, slides or good books or videos or whatever you prefer. Right? It was too much to post down on Slacks, and because then you will have an overkill of info. I will do this on demand. So week 3, decentralized exchanges. Yeah, this is an interesting one. You're going to discuss the current, well, more centralized, decentralized exchanges like Binance and stuff like that, and how they operate around the world, and put that in this case in a more of a legal approach. Interesting assignment. This is easier than the second week, and that's also why we asked you to do 3 analysis on decentralized exchanges. So in this case, describe in maximum of 2,000 words which of these exchanges you prefer, and most importantly, why. We want to know why. Why do you think this one is better than that one? So what does this one have? That means that you need to know all of the properties. I think is it written down? Pay attention to the subjects and problems. Yeah, okay. This is also based on class. So in class, I will give you stuff that these decentralized exchanges encounter and how you should properly build decentralized exchange, and you apply that on this assignment. And then hopefully you will come to the conclusion that I haven't discussed it all in class, because it's way more complex to create a decentralized exchange than I can explain in 2 or 3 hours. And this one is from Dennis. I have no idea what this is. Can you make 3.3 optional as well, Ricardo? Because these are already difficult. And once more, feel free to ask me more about this stuff, because that's the problem. We do have a lot of knowledge and content, but we can't crop it into 3 or 4 or even 40 hours. So just to give you, I once followed a master, digital currencies it was called, and there we discussed, which was a master level, and then we even discussed 10 weeks only about decentralized exchanges. So just get a decent grasp of how much there is to tell about decentralized exchanges, or about money, or about innovations. These are almost entire educations or programs on their own. But if you're interested in such a program, if you have a lot of affinity with it, or if you want to write your thesis about it, for example, or if you just want to learn more, walk up to me, ask for the data, and I can send you into a certain direction. Okay? If you think it's already a lot of work, perfectly understandable as well. So, bottom. Other improvements. We now have a document channel in the Slack. If you click on this one, I will share the slides later on, by the way. But if you add this channel, I saw that already 20 or 25 persons found it. There will be the documents. because my apologies, it was quite a mayhem previous time. So I can imagine you swearing 1 or 2 times. Sorry for that one. So the document channel in the Slack, I think it's quite empty currently. I only posted the schedule because otherwise you will have 10 more variants and I need to change them. After I know the groups, after I know the portfolio assignments, I will upload them. So the portfolio in this case is online. We wanted to do it first offline in a PDF, but this was more convenient. Classes are also filmed. If you go to this channel, you will find them. So if you want to see Gerard's classes, the IT classes and the slides, you can also follow his courses. So it might be interesting as well. And we're going to experiment with new tools and tokens. My question to you, any other things that you haven't heard of, that you haven't thought of, that you think, hey, might improve this or might improve that? If you don't want to embarrass me, perfectly fine as well, just text it to me. But if you have any questions, for, hey, you might want to see it. Do you have any questions? Let me rephrase it. Yes. Oh, yay. Oh, yay.
Now, are you going to share the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I will share the PowerPoints. Yeah. But I think I'm going to share them in the eco. I think there's even I don't oversee the channels anymore. I think I will share them in the, Ricardo, there's a specialization, right, of the minor. Like we've got minor IT, we also got minor economics. Whatever, I will share, I will do them in a group chat. Then I know that everybody has them.
Shouldn't be in a document channel.
That's a very good idea as well. Yeah, check. Yeah.
What was the experience with LinkedIn? You said
The experience with LinkedIn?
the experiment. You said we are going
Yeah. What we're going to do with LinkedIn, first of all, I wanted to connect you all your names with your public keys. So I now have your public keys, which I can use, of course, as, for example, a mandatory presence list. I also did the check with the attendance. Like this was unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but we came to the conclusion: are we going to do with anybody who wasn't attending there? Well, okay, well, no, we're not going to give you extra assignments. Fine for now. But what we will do is we're going to send you tokens on that thing. That was the first part, but the second part is we want to try out the LinkedIn algorithm, which upgraded I think a year ago or so. And we're testing it. How can you make a post go as live as possible? First, we wanted to tag all your public keys and your names in the picture. That wasn't possible. You can only tag 30 people in a picture. So that was the first outcome of that. There were 100 people on the picture. So then we did the, eventually the goal was to reach 10,000 views. That we, I think we passed already or didn't pass. Secondly is we're experimenting with, can you keep it alive? Can you keep feeding it? That it but that doesn't work. So we need to figure out a way to either get momentum or to create like an ongoing process or something. But that takes way too much time. Basically, we're figuring out how this algorithm works. But because we're on the front end, we don't see how it works. So it's quite difficult for us. But in short, we're going to use your public key to send down the tokens, which I will show you now in the next page. And what it also offered me was a good, interesting side effect, is that now I saw all of your LinkedIn pages. And you most likely saw me as watching your LinkedIn page. And I have contacted somebody who's very active on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, he can't be here today. I asked him, but he has a filled agenda. But he noted down some general tips, and some of them might be interesting, so I want to share them with you. I also want to offer you an opportunity to get a decent photograph, because some of you had like a sort of a half selfie, or where somebody's cut out, or stuff like that. So we have a 5,000 euro camera here, so make use of that. Here somebody booked up 5,000 euro, whoa. Yeah, so we'll just put you wherever you are. White background's perfectly fine. It's not a professional photo shoot, but if you want to have a decent high quality picture of yourself, I even brought my gel for you, so if you need some gel with it, you can do that as well. But more importantly is that I want to give you these tips. For now, MetaMask and DAO miner. So get out your phones, get out your laptops. You're going to install MetaMask on it. Yeah, do have a wallet nowadays, but it's best to do on your computer. I don't have it on my phone, but I know there is a MetaMask. I think it's. By the way, I have it on my phone as well. Don't I? No, I don't anymore. So if you go to metamask.com, I will have a link here ready as well. This is Gerard's style of doing stuff. Oh wow. Long live Internet Explorer.
Do we have to use it right now? Because I forgot my password.
Yeah, well actually you do, but yeah, I know how you feel. I think I have at least 25 of those things. That's a very good. Always write them down. Always write down these words. Yeah. Okay. Check. And that's the password to your public key that you posted in LinkedIn, because that's the one you need. Okay. Do you have access to your private key that you used for your public key on LinkedIn? Yeah. If you use that. In other words, let me rephrase that. We're going to make MetaMask. You will receive a public key. You can also send me that public key. Just send it. If you haven't done it already in the LinkedIn post, just post it. If you have done it already, just edit your message. Then I have your most recent public key, because I need to have a public key that you can access. Because otherwise it's not valuable. Otherwise I will send tokens to a public key that you don't have the key of anymore, and then it's useless. And then you will lose your Titan tokens, which you will use later on for multiple things. So install MetaMask. First of all, go to Google, enter MetaMask. Then Google search, click on MetaMask. Then you will open metamask.io. You will have a Chrome extension. Do you already use Chrome? Because it works best on Chrome. I'm not a big fan of Chrome, but
Is Firefox okay?
Firefox works fine as well. I myself use it on Firefox. Yeah.
Jordi, MetaMask is not open source. It's privately owned, centralized. That goes against your whole idea of...
Yeah, but if you have an alternative, let me know.
There's no alternative.
No, exactly. That's the problem. So we need to work with stuff we have currently in hand, and it does have what it does. It connects you with your public key with the DAO, for example. So it's just another bridge. It's indeed a centralized bridge, but there are way more centralized bridges than just MetaMask. So it's just one additional one on the private or on the PAL. Yeah, the Fox. Yeah.
Early access, it says.
I'm sorry?
It says early access.
Oh, you already exited this?
No. It's called MetaMask Early Access.
Oh, well, yeah, I think it's should be fine. I don't know how the application. Well, I see a Fox. Yeah, then it should be fine. So if you create a wallet, important is that you, where are we? That you save these 12 words that you receive. Yeah, if you lose the 12 words, you lose your private key. And for now, you're not going to store a gazillion dollars on that private key. So you can store it somewhere in a not such a secure environment like your WordPad or Notepad or a Word document or your mailbox. If it gets hacked, you will lose your Titan tokens. Well, just ask us for a few new ones, right?
Did you create a Titan token?
Eventually I did, yeah. I tried to do it with Gerard, but his connecting didn't work, so I did it. But it's just, for now it's a test token. We gave it a wrong name as well.
But it's on CoinMarketCap also, right? Or it's not that one?
No, it's not that one. No. That's not that one. No. I didn't know that there was a Titan token on CoinMarketCap though. And what is the abbreviation? TT?
Titan, I think.
Titan.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Titan token.
The next generation can come. Baby
Oh, yeah. We needed one more of those.
TTN.
TTN, yeah. I think I've once saw it. Okay, so did we all install the MetaMask? Do we all stored our private key somewhere?
No.
No? You can't find the key?
No, it says it's installed MetaMask, but I can't find it.
And you can log in somewhere?
No, lekker.
Oh, get the Chrome extension, yeah.
Zeg maar afgeleid uit Chrome, maar ik weet niet waar het is.
Yeah. And if you go to the depths, waar zijn we? Even kijken. It should be visible. If you go to the extension. Okay, pak hem even.
Oh nee, ik ging het opzoeken, maar...
Dan zou je toch hier ergens in je extension. Hoe kom je bij je gebruik dan Chrome? Als je hem even. Oh wacht, je moet volgens mij. Ik sluit even alles af hoor.
Ja.
Als je hem opnieuw opstart, zou die als het goed is hier moeten staan. Je had die Google, ja, hij zei toch dat je hem net geïnstalleerd had.
Ja, want ik had hem toen een keertje in de les geïnstalleerd.
Ja.
Maar toen ging mijn laptop kapot. En nu heb ik mijn laptop weer, maar er staat dat hij dus nog steeds geïnstalleerd is.
Verwijderen uit de Chrome. Je krijgt hier de extensie niet te zien. Does anybody know if the extension of Chrome, when it doesn't automatically uploads in your search bar above, how do you submit it? In de beveiliging? Waar heb je dat gedaan? Ah, wacht. Ja, verwijder hem gewoon even. Installeer hem opnieuw.
Ah, oké.
Waarschijnlijk heb je die extensie. Ja. Kijk,
ja.
tada. Thanks. Dat werkte. Ja. Yeah, perfectly fine as well. Yeah, if you don't want to do the entire link, but the benefit of LinkedIn is that we all have it in one place, but it doesn't matter. And tied to your name, but if you have a private message on a Slack or something, yeah, fine as well. You can't find it? And it's gone. Yeah. Yeah. Take your right. Everybody has the extension? Okay, so log in. Then we will do a... do you see your public key? Yeah, you see a public key there? Okay, one minor, not so very important question, but have you seen your private key as well? Did you store it decently? If you lose it, you don't have access, because you can still access on your phone or whatever, but if you refresh it or remove the browser, you remove, how do you, you remove the access to your key. If you want to reset it, no, you don't? No, indeed, that's the bottom line. If you have your private key, then you can reset it. But I see a lot of naysayers here. So, ladies and gentlemen, one more time. You can only recover your public key if you have the private key. Please store your private key. If you don't know how to store your private key, ask your neighbor or neighbors. Is that even a word? Neighbors. Neighbor. Ask your neighbor. It's neutral-ish. Okay. Yeah, like cousin. Yeah. Hey. Check. Okay, so second one, and here it's getting interesting, is here we are. No fool. I will copy this one in the. Sorry. No, go to the following website. Yeah, I can't access my Slack from here. Go to Rinkeby, which is the testnet of Ethereum, or a testnet of Ethereum. Rinkeby.aragon.org. Let me check. Is this readable? It is, right? Okay. So rinkeby.aragon.org /# and here is our DAO. Our DAO is called Blockchain Miner 2090 Part B. So if you go to Rinkeby, is everybody here? Is everybody focused? Everybody live in class? Yeah, here we are. Okay, rinkeby.aragon.org / blah 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 blah. Blockchain Miner 2019B. So if I click on that one. Yeah, I needed to zoom out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the let's call it a plug and play DAO. As you know, a DAO is just something like a vereniging, or like how do you say it in English? Vereniging? Yeah. A cult, yeah, this is the blockchain cult. I don't think, I'll just do it in paste and go. Here we go. Okay, so you should be able to see this screen. The beauty of it is, give me a sec, everybody sees the exact same screen. Whether I, as a creator, whether I made it, or whether you are firstly to join. What you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is enable account. This is where you're going to connect your public key from MetaMask with the DAO. You're looking here at a DAO. And what is a DAO? DAO is nothing more than an organization without rulers. So we all have a vote in here. Unfortunately for you, I have all the votes. But what will be a vote? A token will be a vote. So I will send you the tokens and I will send you votes. So the better your study behavior, the more votes you get. The more influence you can have on these votes. You can not only vote, you can also create votes. You need, figured it much. Yeah. Nee. Oh, hier. Nee, ja, wel, daar. So, connect. I can't do it, I'm on a school computer, which is basically the most and the least secured system in the world, combined together. So I can't download anything, but it's still very, very corruptible. But if you click on the enable account, you will go through the indeed centralized connector MetaMask, and it will connect you with the decentralized public key. But as mentioned, you're already using the internet, which is centralized, and way more options, like the browser you're using is centralized. Yeah, oh yeah, sure, sorry, forgot you.
What is MetaMask even for
MetaMask is like a client software, a software client. It is basically a tool that's built around public keys to let public keys connect with other applications. Like this is the perfect example. You have a random public key, which is just a huge number. But if you want to do something with it, for example, vote, you need some software that can let that number talk with the other programs. That's what MetaMask does. And indeed, it's a centralized version. But that's currently, it's one of the only softwares that's, or one of the few wallet providers that actually already works with stuff like this. You have multiple variants of MetaMask. You have the engine wallet. You have most of the blockchains have their own wallet, so you can also do it by using Ethereum. But MetaMask not only connects Ethereum but connects multiple things. Important is to realize is that they have seen your private key as well. So if you store huge amounts of money, it's very corruptible. If somebody attacks MetaMask and get out all these private keys, they have instantly access to your funds as well. So don't store huge amounts of money on Meta. Use MetaMask just to play, for stuff like this. That's the reason why I continuously keep on losing passwords. Yeah, but I now finally have a structured way of ordering them. Okay, so is the account connected? Okay, so this is the DAO. What I'm going to do is if you click on the button tokens, you will now see that 4 addresses have tokens. I am 2 of these addresses, so I will always have 76% of the votes. Mwah. But eventually your public keys will be getting below here as well, and my votes will go slowly towards you as well. We don't know how many we should contribute, 1 or 10, or what action is worth how many tokens. But you can even upvote your own, do I want this public key to get more tokens? And then we can all vote about whether you will get more tokens. Yeah, Joey.
Would it be more fair to, let's say, introducing a raffle function into it when everybody is up?
Yeah, for example. Yeah, that should be more fairer. But that's quite an important one, by the way. If you have suggestions, like this suggestion, things you encounter, like, hey, this isn't fair, or this should be done better, please let us know. That's very valuable for us. Like the raffle function is indeed a good idea. I don't know if it's possible, because this is a very, very first form. It looks visually attractive, but that's basically all. Yeah. So I don't think we can introduce a raffle, but perhaps we can do it on the background. It is already possible. Then show me. Then later on, please show me, and then I can apply it, because we're making DAOs like they're falling. Yeah. Okay. So we will have your public key, which is tied to your identity. We know your identity. The rest of the world doesn't know that that public key belongs to you, of course, with an amount of tokens. What can you do with these tokens? You can, for example, go to a voting. You create a vote. Let's say, for example, new vote. Unfortunately, we can only vote yes or no. So I already did a deep dive yesterday. And yeah, it's not possible to do a multiple choice option. They will roll it out in the beginning of 2020. That's what I've heard. That's what they told me. So, for example, a question. What's a question? Are we going? Will class start from 9? Yes. Or 10? No. So something like that, sorry. And then I will create the vote. Oh, sorry, I can't create the vote because I need to connect with my public key, of course. Then I need to pay gas. Normally it will upload the vote. Something like this. Where are we? Where did I? Oh yeah. Do we want to give Jordi a budget of 10,000 Ether each month? So I voted yes. So now I have, but the question could be here, do we want to hold class at 10 or at 12? If you have a lot of votes, you can vote the time that you prefer. So your study behavior directly influence the amount of influence you have on these outcome. Stuff like that. But also, do you want to order pizza or Chinese? And the pizza is yes, Chinese is no. If they evolve this stuff, then I will just ask, what are we going to order tonight? And then Chinese, pizza, Thai, etc. McDonald's, I don't know what you like. And you can create these own votes on your own. The only thing that you need to do is connect to your account, get a test ether, which I will show you later on, because it's not doable on this screen. Because you need ether to send transactions, which is a test ether. And then you can start voting. This is not, of course, the only thing, but you will need the Titan token to do some votes. We will also give you the Titan token to eventually pay, for example, for pizza or beer or whatever. You will also get the token to score some additional points on your portfolio or a free pass if you scored many, stuff like that. So we're going to test that. If you have use cases, this is important. If you have use cases where you think of, hey, can't I use a Titan token for that? Let's say, for example, I want to get a cup of coffee. Is it okay if I give you 5 Titan tokens and you will give me your pass and I will get a coffee? Stuff like that. If you think, hey, that might be a use case for a token, just let me know. Just propose, just write down the proposition in a sentence or two, and then most likely we can do something like that. Because we want to create value for you, because basically you've earned it by showing the right behavior. Unfortunately for you is that we currently still decide what right behavior is. In a true DAO, you will all decide on your own together, including us, what right behavior is. For example, it depends on the lecturer. Some say, Eric is kidding about it just now, but normally you're not allowed to eat in class. But that's based on my standards. If you think it should all be possible, you should be able to overrule me as a lecturer. That's a strange thing. We're creating strange dynamics here. Unfortunately for you, I have all the votes. For now. If you keep on showing the right behavior, I will keep sending the votes. Do keep in mind this is the first test DAO, but if you have acquired a huge amount of tokens, if we will switch to the next DAO or the next token, we will just migrate your tokens with it. Because now we have your name and your public key, so it's quite easy for us to do. Yes? Questions about the Edu DAO, or does anybody have a good name for it? I will ask you later. I will ask you later for all this input. Yeah, Erik.
The public key I sent to you is not from our MetaMask.
No problem, but you can connect your public key, that public key, to your MetaMask. So if you have your public key ready, but if your public key isn't from MetaMask, just upload that public key in your MetaMask. Just type down the 12 words you have in MetaMask, and then you have a... Please don't do this if you have huge amounts of funds on it. Let's say if you have 10 bitcoins or I don't know, on your wallet, or in this case 100 ether, don't connect that with your MetaMask. Keep that offline as far as possible. That's important. I don't expect you to have huge amounts of funds on it, but if you do, don't connect that with MetaMask. Important. Yes? If you have any questions about it, just ask us in the Slack. And then we will connect it. You will need it. Okay. Oh yeah, that's the final part before we start is this one. This might be of value for you. As you know, we are trying to innovate education. We need a lot of help with that. And we want a lot of help with that because it should come from you. Not only for you, but also, of course, for the students after you. Because you are education, you are living it. So we want to offer you several opportunities to get your vote in, to get your power in, your energy in. And we're going to do this by these several tracks. First of all, if you're talking about study points, ECTs, you can do either an internship. So Martijn van der Linden will be your, or provide the assignment, or how do you say it? Internship guidance counselor or something like that. We have thesis possibilities. It doesn't always need to be a thesis. It depends on your education. You can also do a field assignment as a final product, which Anna will do. And eventually you can even switch or create other portfolio alternatives. This is an important one for you. If you have an alternative for a portfolio assignment, if you do something extracurricular, and if you think, hey, that might be interesting, can't I just swap this activity for doing that activity? Just let us know. If you, for example, are building day in, day out on blockchains, and you think that might be more relevant than describing how the monetary system works on a video, just let us know. If you don't ask, the answer is no, because we don't know that you're doing that stuff. We already have an arrangement or two with several other peoples like that. And for example, participating in a hackathon is a good example of this. Other than that is we also, and this is a more tougher, this is like more of a sort of a job interview. This isn't suited for everyone. Neither is this, by the way. We are of course very critically on who we let join in the team, because this takes a lot of time. So we will look at you, your personal possibility, or how do you say it, your soft skills, as well as your hard skills. What can you do? Combination need to be perfectly fine. Especially by this, because this is where you actually onboard the team. First of all, we always do it with voluntarily ecosystem contribution, a sort of a test phase, where people start doing stuff, all random kinds of stuff based on what we do. Then we offer a side job, like Dennis is a good example of that, like the onderwijsinstructeur. So the Hague University will be your employer. And then eventually you can even grow to a real job. But this is like a 2-year project. Like this is the first half year, this is the after half a year. When you're finished with study, that's the final possibility. Yes? That's what you get if you type in money and funny. I don't see you smile. Yeah, very cheesy. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Quick recap. What is money? The faster you answer, the faster, the more information I can give you. What is money? What is money? What? Money can be time. Money can be a language. What is its purpose? What does it do?
Exchange value.
Exchange value, exactly. And what is value? Goods or services, or the repayment of debt. Goods or services or repayment of debt. So you can either buy it, you can either use it to buy goods or services, or the repayment of debt. Widely accepted, important as well. Money is something different than wealth or income. Wealth is a stock, a moment in time. Wealth you can accumulate, which of an example can be money, but wealth can also be a house, a car, stuff like that. A car is not a very good form of money. Try to pay with your car at the Albert Heijn. Here you've got my car, right? Yeah, you can try. I think the cashier might be interesting. Okay. Wealth is known as a stock. Income is known as a flow. Just think about your salary, for example. It's repeatedly. And that's also interesting regarding your salary, where salary is currently weekly, monthly. By making it, for example, by cutting it in real small pieces, like Bitcoin can do, you can make it a more timely manner. So you can be paid by nanosecond. Not interesting if you're working a shift behind a machine, but might be interesting if you do something on the internet. For example, content creation. So the streaming flow of money will be interesting when you're talking about the Internet of Value. Too complex for now. Will mainly be the focus of the group of streaming money. Currency. So you have money, you have income, you have flow. Income is just a flow of wealth or money in this case. But what is a currency? Currency just refers to the paper money and coins in circulation. Nowadays, I think they also count the bank accounts with it. So that's also called a currency. Yeah, so not only the physical ones, as we saw on the picture, but also your bank account. So that's what money is. Basically, this is the important one. It's used for goods, services, and it's widely acceptable. We use it for 3 things, or it has 3 functions. First of all, it always starts with being a store of value. We humans are gatherers. We collect stuff. The rarer it is, the more valuable we deem it. It used to be shells or salt. We used to pay with salt. So imagine you getting a bucket in the sea, burn the water and regain the salt. You would be a millionaire. or a gazillionaire, you would have an infinite supply of salt because you live next to the sea. So in our case, salt is not a very good payment system. But if you live in the middle of Mongolia, it will be a bit more difficult to reach salt. Hence, it's rare. Hence, it became valuable. So different regions had different stores of value. Exotic shells were very valuable in the Netherlands, but were not very valuable on the Philippines. Depends, of course, on how exotic the shell was. So, collect stuff, the rarer, the more valuable. It always starts with store of value. When you compare the monies from the history, it starts with the store of value. People collect stuff, other people want to have it. They don't have it because it's rare, and they will exchange goods or services for it. We didn't have debt in the beginning of time. Then it started to being a measurement, a medium of exchange. It goes from store of value to medium of exchange. People start accepting it as repayment. So I could pay you with salt and then you would do something because you knew that this salt could also be used to buy some other stuff. So you would fix my shoe and you could buy a bread. And the baker could, I could lecture the children of the baker or something like that. So you have a medium of exchange, which started as a store of value, but then became widely accepted. And the holy grail eventually is if you start measuring stuff. So 1 shoe is 1 ounce of salt. 1 hour of kindergarten from Jordi Jansen was worth 1 kilogram of salt. Right? If you measure stuff, think about the double notation of euro and guilders in the beginning of 2000. So these are the functions of money. Store of value is you use it to store your value in. When is something a good value? If you remain your purchasing power. So is fiat money a very good store of value, for example? Why not? It loses its value. How do we call it if it loses its value? Inflation, exactly. Is gold a good store of value? Yes. It, in general, remains over time, remains your purchase power. Is Bitcoin a good store of value? Depends on your time scope. If you bought it in 2017, by the end, most likely not. If you bought it in 2009, most likely yeah. So this is also very important if you are looking at this function. How big is your time scope? Store of value, yes or no, depends on how long you're... It even goes for gold. Is gold a very good medium of exchange or a good unit of account? No. Is fiat a good medium of exchange, a good unit of account? Yes. So the important thing to note here is that different monies have scored differently in this regard. The perfect money would score, of course, very high in all these regards. The perfect money is that there is no money. But that we will explain later on. Even not a cryptocurrency, so no money. Instant transactions. So 3 functions. You need to know these 3 functions by heart, ladies and gentlemen. If you call yourself a decent economic and you don't know what money is, you don't know that it's used to repay goods or services or debt, and you don't know what the function is of money, but you work day in and day out with money, you're not a very, well, let me rephrase it, theoretically, you're not a very founded economic. So you should know your stuff. The 3 functions of money is very, very basic. And it's most likely the very first time you hear this during your education, by my estimation. Who encountered this during study? Yeah, what study do you do? IMC. Ah, check. So the English version of Finance and Control does it. I know the Dutch version doesn't do it. Yeah, which is insane. I studied for 7 years to become a certified auditor. Never once have I heard about this. Never. I can tell you all about business processes, how to audit them, and how euros work and how currency exchange. Never once did anybody explain this to me. Never once did anybody explain where do euros come from? How does the monetary system work? But we work with it every day. And as Novo Harari, you know, do you know the books from Harari, like the 21st century, 21st lessons for the 21st century, Homo Deus, stuff like that? Sorry? Sapiens, yeah. Okay, so I will send you some very interesting links. Watch those. I will even write it down. He explains it very well. Money is just a story. Money is nothing more than a story that we tell each other. It's all about trust. And we believe in stories because we choose to believe in story. So the most dangerous way for money to lose its value is by attacking that story. Fiat, for example, is all based on trust. Bitcoin is trust. Gold is trust. Most things in life are based on trust regarding the money flow. We call these institutions. So an institution is not a big building with institution on it. No, an institution is just a story we tell each other. An institution can be recognized. What if an alien race invaded and looked upon that and thought, what the hell is that? Like if you show them a euro, like, okay, what is it? That's how you recognize an institution. Other examples of institutions, things we deem like, they're hard to recognize for the first time. What is another example of institution? A story we tell each other we all believe in, but where an alien race might fly in, think, what the hell are they doing there? Where the use case would be unknown if you're not human. Like where an animal might look differently on it. To it.
Tickets for concerts.
Yeah, tickets for concerts. Yeah, very good. Taxes. Stuff like that. Things that you think, okay, well, yeah, logical, right? But an animal doesn't pay taxes. Doesn't, still. Will do, of course, if you have a DAO animal later on, but that's a refrain for that one. Once more, important. Medium of exchange, unit of account, store of value. Okay, go. What three functions? First one up. Yeah. Visualize you. One. Store of value, yeah. Do you know all three of them?
The account, store of account.
Unit of account.
Store of
Help them out, ladies and gentlemen. Medium of exchange, yeah. Store of value, then you start exchanging, medium of exchange, and then you start measuring unit of account. You see how quickly it fades away? I will do this more often to random people. Normally this bench is clear of people, but then I will start with the other one. Okay, so functions of money are written down for later on for explaining. Forms of money, well, yeah. What kind of forms of money, before I will show you a slide, what forms of money do we have? Forms of money. Fiat, yeah, which is? Trust money. It's based on trust. Okay? Gold, yeah, how do you call gold? Commodity monies. Like jewelry, gold, stuff like that. Stocks, how would you? Equity, yeah. Can you pay with equity? Not yet, right? It's not very. What's the main reason why you can't pay with stocks at the grocery store? What's the main reason why he accepted my salt?
Because he sees value in it?
There might be value in it, like a car, if I offer him my car. But what doesn't he think? Hey, I now have this car, I can easily. It's not a very good medium of exchange. It's not very liquid. It needs to be liquid. High demand, high offering. So if I give you money, you know, okay, I can pass it on. I will retell the story to somebody else. And the animal is still watching, there goes a paper there, can I eat it? And we see it as being able to buy goods and services for it. So the different categories of money. Commodity money, like gold, silver, grain, used to be grain, livestock, gems. And paper notes backed by a commodity. Does anybody know a paper note that is backed by a commodity?
Not anymore. Is it?
Exactly, not anymore. And here the beauty arises. The dollar used to be backed by gold. So before 1971, you could go to a bank with your dollar and you could give them, here I have $10, and on the dollar note would be, this is redeemable for such an amount of gold. And it wasn't until, of course, until 1971, it was only for countries doable, but in the beginning of the 1900s, you could actually exchange your notes for gold. So what was the main currency there? Gold. The paper note was just to easily transfer it. So you didn't need to pack up all your entire kilograms of gold and walk around. How many gold is there in the entire world? If you collect it all the gold that's above the surface and in circulation. Is it as big as this building? Bigger? Smaller?
Olympics swimming pool.
Very good. You paid attention. During the movies, like the Mike Maloney gold scam movies. Yeah, exactly. As big as an Olympic pool. And they think that there are 3 or 4 more Olympic pools buried on the ocean, stuff like that. Does it come from Earth? No, it doesn't come from Earth. It's also one of the main reasons why, for example, have you seen the movie with the guy with the hammer, Thor? Yeah, but when he goes to his hometown or home world, everything is gold. Yeah, every time in movies you see other planets made out of gold. One of the main reasons is that there might be huge stars of gold out there, comets, stuff like that. And of course, if one lands on Earth, what does it do with the gold price? Yeah, exactly, because it's not as rare anymore. And it might even, it doesn't have, still we humans think, hey, there's a gold comet, there's more. Well, actually nothing changed. Only the story changes. So very important is the story. Fiat money is just consensus money. So until 1971, you could pay, or you could get your fiat note to a bank, you can get your money. After 1971, I think it was Nixon who decided to let go of the gold standard. Why would Nixon let go of the gold standard? War, yeah, exactly. War is always the main reason, by the way. Fiat, they also sometimes you name it as war money, because you can keep printing, pay it for wars. But
Deficit spending?
yeah, exactly. You could spend it as much as you want. If you keep printing, you don't need the gold anymore. So what happened? All the countries thought, yeah, well, hell yeah, what is going to happen? Now all of a sudden, you are allowed to print, but we're not allowed to print anymore. So they tried to make the dollar the next standard instead of gold. Well, that didn't work. France got quite angry, of course. Always France is quite the opponent of the Americans. So they claimed their money back, and a lot of countries have been claiming their money back. The Netherlands is doing quite well in that regard. We have quite a sufficient amount of gold in our vaults. Regarding the gold standard, we have quite the amount. Which country currently has the most amount of gold? I think it's still the United States, but China. Yeah, the United States is still the biggest one. They almost had all the gold after World War II. 2 reasons. First reason, if in the entire world is fighting and you aren't fighting, that's very good for your economy. So they joined really late in the war. They supplied with weapons and stuff like that. And then eventually, if you come out winner, of course, yeah, then you can collect a lot of the valuables as well. But then they had some deficit spending and poof, kept dropping. So China has been collecting a lot of gold, and many other countries, of course, as well. And in the end, it's just a story. It's just a story we tell each other, because gold has no real use case. Well, not a lot. Other than that, we also got, of course, credit money, money based on credit, based on debt. And we've got electronic money. Cryptocurrencies, is it electric money, or is it an entirely different class? That's a bit of a discussion currently to the money economist. Because what do cryptocurrencies have that normally debit cards and M-Pesa doesn't have? What's the main difference, for example, between a debit card from ING Here we go. And a cryptocurrency. Yeah, exactly. Centralized, decentralized, right? Okay, so for now, main category is credit money. Which credit money, electronic money? Which one is the most one in circulation? Which one do we most oftenly use? We here in the Netherlands. Exactly, credit money. And is it physical? Is it digital? Check. Digital money, digital credit-based money. Credit to whom? Credit from whom? Yeah, exactly. The banks. Ceremonial monies. Okay, properties. This is also an important one. This is a framework. I think we discussed this one already once, right? So it's standardized. It needs to be standardized, widely accepted, divisible, easy to carry, durable, hard to counterfeit. So monopoly money. You've played all Monopoly, right? Monopoly money. Is it easily standardized and simple to ascertain its value? So if you see it, you know how much value it is. Yeah. Is it widely accepted? No. Divisible? Yeah. Until it's limited, but you can devise it. Easy to carry? Yeah. Is it durable? Nah. Scarce? Yeah. Not really, right? So monopoly money is lousy money. Gold. Easily standardized, simple to ascertain its value. Yeah, you can measure it, right? You can weigh it. It's widely accepted. Try to pay with gold at your grocery store. Yeah, it's widely accepted. But if you owe me 10 euros, then I won't accept. Well, I might accept your gold in this case. Yeah. But yeah. Is it divisible? Yeah, you can do it. Not as easy, of course, but easy to carry. Not so, especially not if you need to send it to New Zealand from here. Durable? Yeah, very good. Scores very high on durability. It's been around for millions of years. Is it scarce? Yeah. Hard to counterfeit? Yeah. So, way better. If you have a sort of money, Bitcoin or fiat or whatever, just lay it to these foundations. And then you know how good sort of a money is it. So a car, for example, is quite a lousy money. It doesn't mean that it is not valuable. Doesn't mean that it can't be a good store of value. Okay? So we've discussed this. Evolution of money. Yeah, that's an interesting one though. Does anybody know how money evolved to where we are now? Where did it came from? What were the first kinds of monies? And where are we now? Stones, yeah. Yeah, the Yap stones, those are examples, yes, sure. The Yap stones on the island of Yap. But how did we evolve from that to that? Where did we use the stones for? Yeah, they were registered in a ledger. Yeah. Everything is eventually, well, not everything. Is fiat registered in a ledger? The cash? Somewhere, yeah. But do they know if I have the cash? No. So it's not really. They did produce it, but it's.
But there is a number on the cash itself.
Yeah, for the validity, for the counterfeit. Yeah, it's a tough one. So it is registered in a ledger, but it's anonymous. So not a very good form of a ledger. But the main message here is that you don't fall in the common story. The common story is that there was a barter economy. You had a cow and you needed a chicken, but you couldn't exchange the cow for the chicken. Or you don't want a chicken. Or I was a lecturer and nobody wanted to follow my lectures. So then I would have a problem as well, but even if you had money. You needed something to exchange these things. So they invented money, and money helped exchanging these stuff. Do you know that? Are you familiar with the story? This is the story of coincidence of once. It's also this story is not correct. There is no historical proof. There's no linguistic proof. So the story of being a barter economy and money invented to facilitate that trade is false, most likely. Unfortunately, and very strangely, There's been no seriously accounted attempt to record what has happened with our money over time. It's just there, it's always been there, and just as you most likely a year ago haven't thought about it, neither did they think about it 2,000 years ago. It's just there, it's just a story, everybody knows it, everybody acts accordingly to it. Nobody records it, apparently. Unless it goes wrong. Then everybody thinks, okay, well, what is money, where does it come from, who is printing it, etc. So that happened a few times. What was the most recent one where it went all wrong with money? Yeah, 2007, 2008. And before that? Yeah, it depends. The biggest one in the 20th century was the big banking crisis in the 1930s, where nearly 60% dropped. It's most known for people actually jumping out windows and losing everything, and a lot of high suicide rates those weeks. Yeah, people got lost everywhere. But the evolution of money is that it most likely came from communities where they had, for example, let's say a grain community where you grow your crops, where you eventually translated those crops and you produce for the community. So somebody produced crops, another person lectured, and you did it all together with a group. So you did not have private ownership. Eventually, somewhere in time, it evolved into private ownership. So I got the crops, you got the schools, and then you need to start exchanging it. It started with grain. The grain got stored. Why grain? Why was grain so valuable? You need to eat, right? You need to eat something. So they stored the grain in a location, and this you can see in many linguistic stories. So drachma, for example, or shekel, or stuff like that. It all means grain. Pound is also. So lots of measures of a pound is a pound, you know, it's a kilogram versus a pound, but it's also the currency of the UK. The guilder is, I think it's also the florijn. It's either the guilder or the florijn. One of them is also derived from a measurement. So you see measurement tools in it. Why measurement tools? You needed to weigh stuff like that. You needed to weigh drachma, shekel, stuff like that. And I think drachma or shekel, it's either one, actually means grain. But I'm not very good in foreign languages, so. So you had huge silos with grain on it. But you needed somebody or someone to trust these silos. Who did you trust when you were alive a few thousand years ago? Not a bank. Not the guy in the suit dressed up, hey, I will take care of your grain. Who? Yeah, well, not everybody had a king, of course. The village elderly. The village elderly transformed slowly into another form of religion. So it were the temples that collected these stuff. So the temples started creating the very first fiat. They weren't transferring the grains anymore, they were just passing out paper notes. After passing out these paper notes, people started exchanging the paper notes and went back when they wanted some grain. So always a paper note backed by a commodity. So not the fiat money we have that you can't use for anymore. Famously known as Pablo Escobar, when he escaped and fled into the woods and needed to burn millions of dollars just to keep warm. Then you have a use case for your fiat money, yeah. But you need to burn millions, right? In that case, we could exchange it for grains. But of course, in a certain time, people got wealthier and wealthier and wealthier, especially if you control the ledger. So what happened? It lost its value because people start to harass the system once more. What a surprise there. So they invented coinage. Instead of a paper note, which wasn't durable enough, which could be counterfeited, etc., they exchanged it for coins, metalage. Hence we introduced the first coinage. And there the names popped up like pound, like shekel, because if you had that coin, you would get half a kilogram. If you had that coin, you would get a kilogram. If you had that coin, you would get a pound or a shekel, stuff like that. And that happened approximately 2,700 years ago or so. The very first coins were found in the surroundings of Greece and Turkey. And yeah, I think it was 2,700 years ago. But it doesn't matter. What happened next is, of course, you had coinage to exchange, but you had different regions with different coinage. So if you wanted to exchange from Greece with Romania, for example, how do you exchange these coins? You can't. So you would need something that you both deem valuable and that you could exchange. What was deemed valuable by both parties? Exactly, gold. So gold, they used the gold standard to exchange. So gold became not only a medium of exchange, but also a unit of account there. And then you went from gold to all the other steps, eventually finding up, because then we made gold coins, silver coins, then we went from gold and silver coins to some fiat trials, where they, we have the gold in our safe, but here you've got a note. And then first, you can exchange it, but if everybody started exchanging, oh wait, we don't have the gold anymore. Then we started with fiat, who for the very first time introduced fiat. Do you know King Genghis Khan? The Mongolian emperor who almost, I think he had the biggest empire in the entire world.